for taking the time to be with us. We definitely appreciate it. Now, we are following some more breaking news. It has been a very busy Friday here as we have this post from the Inner City Press saying that Sean Diddy Combs has just been sentenced to 50 months of incarceration by the judge. That would be minus the 14 months that he's already served. Right now, I do want to head out to our Fox 5 New York team as they do have extensive coverage. Again, TMZ right there saying Diddy sentenced to 4 years in prison.
Decades, literally decades. He was facing a sentence of like life in prison, and now, let's see, he's got 14 real months in. That's really going to count for like a year and a half. With the programming that he'll get, he could be in a halfway house in 2 years, in 24 months.
So look at the wording that was of interest, you know, how the judge was pretty much admonishing him, taking into account that the judge felt that he had not shown any remorse, you know, like that Combs cried on the stand before like that. How effective do you think that was playing a part in this?
My uneducated guess is that the judge knew exactly what he was doing before he walked into that courtroom today, that he let everyone have their speech. Everyone, like, you know, I mean, this went on. Normally, these things are an hour and a half. We've been here for 8 hours, yeah. Right? I was on with Rosanna this morning and Kurt, and I said it's going to be somewhere, I said, plus or minus 5. So it was on a little bit of the minus 5. 4 years, 2 months. As I said, I think this judge, he said almost exactly what we predicted him to say. I know you've done a lot of good things, but I also need to take the bad things you've done into consideration, and therefore, here's my sentence. The prosecutor asking for 11 years was way beyond the pale. Department of Probation said 7 years, and he undercut them. I will tell you, no matter what they say when they come out here, the defense attorneys, I hope they're not going to get mad at me for saying this, they're going to go and have a great meal tonight. They signed up for a case where a guy was facing life in prison, and now a 50-year-old man will probably get out at 52 to 53 years old, which is 4 years younger than I am. He'll have his whole life ahead of him. He's got tens of millions of dollars in the bank, and hopefully he'll make this horrible situation as productive as possible. He's already started teaching classes in college, in law, in prison, and he'll make a positive impact on the young men, especially the men of our society, about what not to do when you achieve the level of success and fame and fortune that Sean Combs had achieved. And that obviously played a role in the judge's decision making.
So for perspective here, he's gotten more than 4 years, and we understand he was only convicted of 2 of the charges, but the evidence from the other charges that were thrown out is allowed to be considered.
Is allowed. Yeah. In federal court, that's allowed to come in. If you're over there in the state court, a lot less so. But here, the judge is allowed to take that into consideration. He's also the judge must take into consideration the deterrent effect that it will have on the general public, not just on Sean Combs, but on sending a message to society that you can't do this, and if you do this, you're going to get severely punished.
So if you are a part of the prosecution team, how do you view this? What's your response there?
Well, you're already devastated from the acquittals from a couple of months ago, right? Because they were shooting for the moon, and they got nowhere close to the moon. Look, they took down an international icon. They took down an international celebrity. So that's a notch in their belt, if you want to look at it that way. I don't think that's the appropriate way to look at it, but I know that's how they look at it. But they were looking to put this guy in jail for life, and that didn't happen. They were looking to put Eric Adams, the mayor, in jail for life. That case got dismissed. So they've taken it on the chin a little bit, and this is all from the prior U.S. attorney. This is not the current U.S. attorney who's here now.
So what are we to make of this 4 years? Is there any possibility he could have that reduced? Anything that he could do in prison?
So it's interesting. Had the judge sentenced him much more severely to what the prosecutor wanted, like 11
years, 3 months,
I could see President Trump considering like that's just too much. But now, it's like the judge didn't really crush him. Those of us who practice in this courthouse, it's a tough place to be, man. This is a tough place to be. It's a tough place for a criminal defendant to get sentenced. And this cannot be, objectively speaking, this is not a harsh sentence from where it began. Again, the Department of Probation is supposed to be the objective arm of this, and they recommended 7 years. And the judge almost cut that in half. He cut it by a third. The defense has to be very proud of themselves. themselves and the job that they did securing this type of sentence. Of course, Sean Combs isn't happy. He wants to come on. He wants to be here right now doing it, being on Fox 5.
Had speaking engagements lined up,
yes,
as soon as next week, even if they were community-centered or so. But we were hearing that, which some interpreted as a bit of arrogance, on his part.
Yeah, I don't know. I doubt that had an influence on the judge, but apparently he was picked up on voice calls, because all your calls, unless it's to your lawyer, are recorded. And so they told the judge, we heard a call, and he thinks he's going to be out next week. Yeah, that's not the way to go. I wouldn't be too happy if my client, I would be out. Do you have mind?
But do you think that influenced things last moment, or was this already set in his mind?
I doubt it. I think this judge, he's a young judge. He's a new judge. He's also a judge who clerked on the Supreme Court of the United States of America. He has an excellent reputation, not just for his intellect, but his judicial temperament by both sides, which is really, as a judge, where you want to be. I think he's probably was prepared 10 times over, and I'm pretty sure that this is what he was thinking before he walked into the room.
So at this point, where do we go from here? I mean, we're talking about the message that this sends to people.
Let me tell you where P. Diddy goes, which is good news for him. Anywhere is better than where he is. Anywhere is better. So he'll have some options as to which different, when I say options, he won't have the options, but the Department of the Bureau of Prisons will, right? And now I'm sure if you really look, it's still going on in there, but you request the judge, Your Honor, he'd like to be close to his children, so could he be in Florida? Or he wants to be close to his mother, I'm making this up a little bit, in California. The judge doesn't actually have the power to designate where he goes. The judge just makes a suggestion. The Bureau of Prison makes the ultimate call, but the lawyers can request and then tell you why he wants to be in one location or the other. But it will be, every part of his life will be enhanced. There's no worse place for him to be than the MDC, except maybe if it was a state case in Rikers Island. But and he'll probably be moved in a week. I mean, they'll move him relatively quickly because he's now a sentenced inmate, right. And MDC is typically for people waiting trial or waiting to be sentenced.
So in terms of the facility where he'll be, are we talking about maximum security? You think it'll be minimum security? Where does he fall on this spectrum?
If they put him in any kind of maximum security, it's not for him harming others. It's for others harming him. Right. So he won't be. But he'll probably fight.
Isolated.
He'll probably fight hard against that because it's not a pleasant place to be. He'll probably wind up in a medium security environment where he'll be in a cell, but he'll probably have a lot of freedom of movement as opposed to in a minimum security where you're like in a huge dorm room, almost like an army barracks.
Well, look, let's ask you this. How did you think this was going to go? Because you've been commenting on all